Welcome to tape number 3, Spreadsheets. On this tape, you'll soon learn Lotus 123 and Microsoft Excel. Sit back and watch the Computer Tutor tapes at your own pace. To find or review a certain topic, just check the index card and quickly go to just the right place on the tape. Use the on-screen locator window to fast forward or rewind to just the right place. Now here's the Computer Tutor herself, Komando.
Just like word processing processes words, spreadsheets process numbers. And when we process numbers, we add them, we subtract them, we divide them, we multiply them, we put them in columns, and we put them in rows. Well, accountants have been using these for years. It's a ledger, and inside are all kinds of spreadsheets. We have columns, and we have rows going across. The problem was when a number changed. We had to start at the very top, work all our way down to the very bottom, and get the right answer. I tried it with my personal budget. I had good intentions. I pulled out my checkbook, I got my calculator out, and then I filled out the columns. I put my savings, my rent, utilities, all the way down the line. I got my checkbook, filled out all the numbers, but let's say a number changed, say my food bill. Well, what I had to do, I had to start at the top and then go all the way down the line. I mean, talk about a hassle. Well, watch now, and you're going to learn how to process numbers the easy way using the most popular spreadsheet programs. Now you're going to learn Lotus 123 for DOS version 3.4. And the 3.4 is just the model number of the software. We're going to put my personal budget that's in this letter into Lotus 123. That's just a spreadsheet program. It's a number processor. Now to start the program, we're at the DOS prompt. So we need to change directories or type CD, that's the DOS command, and where Lotus is located, or the directory name, 123R34. Press enter and the prompt changes. Type 123 to start the program, and Lotus gets everything together that I'm going to need to write a spreadsheet. What we see on the screen looks just like an accountant's pad. We have columns along the top, and the columns go up and down. That's the A column. This is the B column, and again it goes up and down. And then we have the C column, and again it goes up and down. These go all across the page. Now we also have rows, and rows go across. This is the first row. This is the second row, and again it goes all across. And one more time, this is the third row, and it goes all across. Now this is the cursor. It's a box in a spreadsheet program, and it marks where whatever we type will appear on the screen. It's also called a cell, and every cell has an address. This is A1. It's the A column, and it's in row 1. This is A3, the A column, and in third row. We also have B1, which is the B column in the first row. Now I can move the cursor a couple of ways. By first, moving the mouse pointer to where I want to go, which is A3. If I point and click there, bingo, I'm right there at A3. It's that easy. Now every address is unique, like post office boxes. You can only have one address for a cell, so this address is A3. Now I can also move the cursor box by using the arrow keys. And to do that, all I have to do is push the arrow key in the direction where I want the box to go. It's that easy. Just if I want to go to the right, push the right arrow key. Want to go right again, just push the right arrow key. Want to go up, just push the up arrow key. It's that easy. Now also we have a home key. Now the home key, anytime you press it, brings you right to A1. Press the home key and you're back at A1. That's a good thing to remember if you're running around in a spreadsheet, you don't know where you are, just press the home key and you're right there. Now on the right-hand side of the page, we have icons. And you learned back in Windows on tape 1 that icons are shortcuts. Now there's 8 pages of icons, and we're going to be using some of them, not all of them, because there's just way too many to cover in one lesson. But you just have to point and click on the number, and you can go from page to page, like in pages of a book. Now, if you've used Lotus before, this may look familiar to you. It's the old slash menu. And to bring it up, all I have to do is put my mouse pointer in the area, and I have the slash menu there. And we'll be using that sometimes when we want to save a file. But let's start by putting in my personal budget. Now, the first item is my income, my monthly income. So I type in income, And whatever I type, you see up on the top, and this is what will appear in the cursor box. Press Enter to tell Lotus that this is what I want there, and there it is on the screen. Now we need to move over to the right, so we press the right cursor key. And now I type in my monthly income, or $2,400. Now there's a shortcut. I can press Enter to tell Lotus that that's the number that I want, or just press the down arrow key or the arrow key in the direction that you want to go, and Lotus will leave it there automatically. And now we need to put in my savings. So I'm going to make a heading for savings so I know what's in that column. Press the right arrow key, and we're going to go in and put in year 1, which is I have 1-year goals, and year 5, because I have a certain amount that I'd like to save in 5 years to maybe buy a house. And now we're going to type in my expenses. So I'm going to put the heading in expenses, press the right arrow key, and we're going to see how much I spent in January, February, and also in March. And again, you just type in what you want and then press the arrow key where you want to go. I have certain categories that I spend my money in. I have rent, utilities, I also have my food, my car payment, I have insurance to pay, and then I have miscellaneous. Miscellaneous, that's kind of like the catch-all of all. And total, we're going to add them all up. And then my favorite category, extra. How much do I have left over to play around with? So we're going to start off by typing in my rent. That's $800. My utilities, $125 in January and 75 cents. My food, $135, although my mother doesn't believe that one. My car payment, $300. Insurance, $125.75. Then we also have that miscellaneous category. That was $235 in January. I don't know where it all went. Now we have a couple of options. We need to have rent. Now rent is the same every month. So I'll tell you what, we're going to copy $800 to February and March. Now to do that, you probably guessed that I have a shortcut for that. And it's on page 5 of the icon sheet. When I point and click, I move the page up. Point and click on the up arrow until we reach 5. And then we see an icon right under the flashlight. The icon under the flashlight is my copy shortcut. But first, I have to move my highlight on what I want to copy, or the 800. I point and click on the 800. Now I'm going to go back and point and click on the copy icon. And you see on the top of your screen, it says enter the range to copy from. Now, a range in a spreadsheet is a cell or a bunch of cells. Now, to select the range, the 800 or just one cell, I point and click there 2 times until I see the range to copy to. Well, the first place I want it is in February, so I point and click there and hold down the left mouse button to select February and March. Release the left mouse button and click it, and there you go, 800 has been copied. It was that easy. Now it's time to put in all our utilities. So I'm going to move the cursor right here under February Utilities by pointing and then clicking the left mouse button. So now it's time to put in our utilities. Well, in February, it wasn't that cold in the desert, so my utility bill was $100.55. My food, it stays around the same, $135. My car payment, that's the same, $300 every month. Insurance, well, I got a bill that said the insurance went up just a little bit. It's funny how you get those every once in a while. And now my miscellaneous, that went up a little bit too, but it was okay. I had a few birthday presents I needed to buy. Now in March, well, the weather in the desert, it doesn't get that cold anymore. It's almost over. So my utility bill just keeps going down, unless, of course, it gets hot and then the air conditioning has to kick in. My food, well, I didn't spend that much in food that month. My car payment, $300 every month. Now, I could have copied that car payment, but as you see, sometimes it's easier just to type in the number. My insurance, well, that premium went up, and we still had to stay the same. My miscellaneous, well, I was a good girl that month, and I spent a little bit less. So now that we have some time invested on all this, it's time to save the file. Now, if I were to turn off my computer right now and then turn it on again, that worksheet wouldn't be there. I wouldn't have all these numbers in there, so I have to save it. When we save something, we put it inside the computer so we can use it again. Now, at the top of all those icon pages, there's a diskette with an arrow pointing to it. And it's on every page, so you know it must be important. When I point and click there, Lotus asks me to give a name of a file. Well, see this file 001? That's what Lotus thinks is a good file name. But I don't think it's a good file name because I wouldn't know what was inside. So I'm going to call it budget. I type in the file name, which erases the one that Lotus gave me. I typed in budget, press enter, and Lotus saves the file. And you can see it in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Now it's time to pretty up the spreadsheet. When you change the way a spreadsheet looks, it's called formatting. And all the shortcuts to formatting, they're on page 2. So I have to go to page 2 of the icon sheet. I point and click on the down arrow all the way until I get to page 2. Now the first thing that we want to do is put all the dollar signs by the numbers. Now I could do this by hand, but I'm going to let Lotus do all the work for me. I'm going to select the first place where a number is, or B1. I move the cursor box there by pointing and clicking to where I want it to be. Hold down the left mouse button, and we're going to drag the mouse until every number that's highlighted, even the numbers that aren't in there yet, we want to put a dollar sign by them. Release the left mouse button to select that area, and over here you see a dollar sign. So you probably guess that that's what that does. When I point and click on the dollar sign, every number automatically is formatted and it all lines up with dollar signs and commas. Now we have to also I'm going to make the spreadsheet a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. So I'm going to start at A1, point and click by moving the mouse cursor, and then drag the cursor all the way down to highlight the area. Move over a couple of columns because we want our whole spreadsheet to have bigger letters. Release the left mouse button, and over here you see a little A with a big A. Well, you probably guess that that makes the letters bigger. So I point and click there. My whole spreadsheet gets a little bigger so it's easier to read. I'd also like to move January and February and March on the right-hand side, so again it looks a little better. I point and click on January, hold down the left mouse button to select January, February, and March, release the left mouse button, and down here in the corner of the screen there's 3 boxes. One has some lines in it pushed over to the left, this one has the lines in the middle, and this one has the lines pushed over to the right. Well, I want to push all January, February, March over to the right, so I point and click there. And then we want to give the spreadsheet some color. We want to give it some life. So let's start at the top by income. I'm going to point and click on income, and we're going to change the color of the way that income looks. Over here we have an A that's blue and then an A that's red. Well, that changes the color of the things on my spreadsheet. When I point and click there, you see it has changed like a weird color green, but up on the top it says red. Well, the reason why it's red is that my cursor box is blue. Watch what happens when I move the cursor box. You see that it's red. So you have to look at the top of the screen to really know what kind of color you're going to get. Let's make year 1 and year 5 yellow. Select first year 1 and year 5 by dragging the mouse and clicking the left mouse button. I'm going to go to the color box, point and click there until I see yellow up on the top. All the way to yellow, and there it is. And now we know just because it's green on the screen, it's going to be yellow anyway. Point and click on savings because that's the next thing that I want to change the color of. Point and click on the color box, and we're going to make this one yellow too. And just keep clicking until you see the color that you want on the top. We can make expense all the way down to total red if we wanted to. So I move over and point and click until I see red, which is up at the top of the screen. Now extra, we're going to make that yellow so we can see it really good. So I'm going to point and click all the way until I see yellow. And again, because that's my favorite column, and go up to January, just move the box, and it drops the color there. We're going to highlight January, February, and March. How about if we make this box, we'll make it red too. And just point and click until you see red, and then bingo, it's red. It's just that easy. Well, now we're going to save the file again. We're going to move the mouse pointer up to save the file, point and click there, and now it asks me 3 things. I can cancel the command, which means Lotus is asking me, are you sure you really want to save this? Well, I am. Backup. When you back up a file, it's like an insurance policy. You put that in a safe place. I just want to replace what I've already saved. So I point and click on Replace, and Lotus replaces what's on the screen. Now I want you to take a look at what you're seeing. I mean, already it looks a heck of a lot better than my budget in that ledger. Now we're ready to add the numbers in my personal budget, the one that's here in this old ledger. Well, I could do it by hand and using a calculator or an adding machine, but I'm going to let Lotus do all the work for me. And Lotus will do the work in something that's called a formula. Now, a formula, it's like a recipe that you have different ingredients and you combine them together. But the ingredients in a formula, our formula that's used in a spreadsheet, is numbers. Our numbers are ingredients in a formula. Now, the first formula we're going to make is the savings formula. There's a couple of steps to doing this. The first step is to put the cursor box where you want the answer, which is right here on my budget. I move the mouse pointer, click the left mouse button to move the cursor box there. The next step is to use the plus sign. When I use the plus sign in Lotus, this tells Lotus that I'm going to be using a formula and not typing in a word like income or an amount like 2,400. Let's think about what this formula should be. Normally, we take our monthly income and we multiply it by a percent. Now, my dad always tells me, Kim, put 10% of everything you make straight into the bank for that rainy day. Well, we keep trying. So we're going to take our monthly income first by selecting it, pointing and clicking on the amount, and now we're going to multiply it by 10%. And when you use a spreadsheet, the multiplication symbol is the star. I'm going to type in the percent now, or 10%. Press Enter, and Lotus figures out the answer for me. Now I have 1-year goals and 5-year goals. So let's see how much money we should have in the bank at the end of the first year. Well, the first step is moving the cursor box to where you want it. I'll point and click here on C3. Next step is to tell Lotus that we're using a formula. We do that by using the plus sign. We're going to take our monthly savings amount, let's select it by pointing and clicking on it, and now we're going to multiply this by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. So we multiply it by using the star, we type in 12 because there's 12 months in a year, press Enter, and that's how much money I should have in the bank at the end of 1 year. And now we're going to figure out the amount for 5 years, how much I should have in the bank at the end of 5 years. The step is to first use the plus sign to tell Lotus that we're using a formula. We're going to take our monthly savings amount and we're going to select it by pointing and clicking on it. We're going to multiply this by 60, use the multiplication symbol, and again by 60 because there's 60 months in 5 years. Type in 60, press Enter, and you get all those stars. Well, what those stars mean is that the answer is too big to fit in the column. So when I move my mouse pointer up here, right here on the line that separates the column, the D and the E column in this case, point and click, and I get an arrow going in both directions. I could move the cursor this way and make the column smaller, but I need to move it the other way to make the column big enough to fit the number. Once you get it to where you need, how wide the column should be, release the left mouse button, and there you see my answer. So at the end of 5 years, I should have $14,000 in the bank, plus some. Now we're going to total up the month for January. Our first step is to move the cursor box where the answer should be, which is right here. I point and click there, and the cursor box moves. So what we need to do is a formula to add up all our expenses for the month of January. Well, I could make my own formula, but there's a shortcut for this. It's over here on the right-hand side of the page. The 1 plus 2 over 3 that looks like something out of a second-grade math class. When I point and click on that, Lotus adds up all the numbers for me. Now, you may be wondering why Lotus didn't add up 240 and 2,400 in order to come up with that answer. Well, the program's smart enough to figure out that I have a heading here, so obviously I just want to add these numbers and not include these numbers in the total. Now we're going to add the expenses for February. So I move the cursor box to where I want the answer, which is right here, by pointing and clicking the left mouse button. We're going to go over to find that shortcut, or that addition symbol, point and click on that, and there's my answer. We're going to do the same thing for March. The first step is pointing and clicking where you want the cursor box. Then we're going to go over to that shortcut icon, point and click on that, and there's my answer. Now the next formula I need to do is my extra. The extra category, my favorite category. So I'm going to leave the cursor box there by pointing and clicking. Now we need to make our own formula. So how do we figure that out? Well, we would take our monthly income, we subtract our savings, then we subtract how much money we spent that month. First step, we're going to tell Lotus that we are going to be using a formula by using the plus sign. We're going to select 2,400 or our monthly income by pointing and clicking on it. We're going to subtract our monthly savings, which is right here, and I'll point and click on that. Now we're going to subtract our monthly expenses for the month of January, which is right here, so I'm going to point and click on that and then press enter, and there's my answer. That's how much money I have left over in January in order to, I don't know, maybe buy a new dress or something. Now we're going to make a formula for February. So I'm going to move the cursor box where I want the answer by pointing and clicking with the mouse. We're going to do the same thing. We need to tell Lotus that we're going to be using a formula. It's the plus sign. Point and click on our monthly income. That's the first part of our formula. We're going to subtract our monthly savings, and then we're going to subtract our total expenses for the month of February. Press enter, and there's my answer. I have a little bit more money, but not much. Now in March, we put the cursor box right where we want the answer, tell Lotus we're going to be using a formula, point and click on the monthly income, subtract from it our monthly savings, and then we're going to subtract all the money that we spent in March on our rent and utilities, and press enter, and there's our answer. We're doing a little better in March. Well, because we did some work on this, it's time again to save the file. You always want to save something if you put some effort into it. So we're going to point and click on that save icon located on the top of every icon page. It's the one with the diskette and the arrow pointing to it. Point and click on that, and now Lotus asks me again, do you want to cancel this? Are you sure you really want to save it? Do you want to back it up, which we know is something that you want to put aside as an insurance policy type of thing? And a replace, that means I want you to replace what you've already saved with all the changes that are inside. So we're going to point and click on replace, and Lotus will save the file as we see it on the screen. Now, one of the best parts of using a spreadsheet over a calculator or adding machine is that you can play a game. You can play a game called What If. What if such and such happens? And then Lotus will do the answer for you automatically. For example, let's say my income went up. So we need to change our income, so I'm going to move the cursor box to what needs to be changed. Point and click there, and our cursor box is there. Let's say I just made another $200 a month. So I type in 2,600 to replace the 2,400 there now. Press enter, and I want you to notice something. What just happened? I pressed enter, and this number changed automatically, this number changed automatically. I only had $14,000 before, so now it's up to $15,600 at the end of 5 years. Then my extra amount changed in February and March. Now, if I would have had to do that by hand, I mean, it certainly would have taken a lot longer than just a fraction of a second. Now, because I have all this extra money, if my father was here, he'd tell me, Kim, you better save a little bit more. I mean, there's no sense, spending it frivolously. So we're going to edit this formula. I'm going to point and click on it because this is the formula that we want to change. Now, by pressing the F2 key, this is a shortcut because I can just change the formula without having to redo it from scratch. Press the F2 key, and we see on the top of the screen the 0.1, that is really 10%. We're going to put a 2 after that, so it's 12%. Press enter, and there you go. All the numbers have changed that fast. Now I know in every month I should be putting $312 away. At the end of the first year, I'll have $3,700 and $3,700. I say I'm getting so excited. I don't know how much money I'll have in the bank. At the end of year 5, over $18,000. And again, my extra amounts changed all just by changing one number, Lotus did all the work. I can also change any number in my spreadsheet the same way, just by pointing and clicking. Maybe in March, I got that job that includes insurance, so I put a 0 there because I don't have to pay my insurance bill anymore. Press Enter, and now I can see in March I have over $700 to play around with. So again, maybe I should up that savings a little bit more, and I'll be able to buy that house sooner. So we're going to edit the savings formula by first selecting it, pressing that F2 key, which is a shortcut to editing a formula instead of having to redo it from scratch. We want to erase the 2, and to erase anything to the left, it's the backspace key. Press the backspace key, and now I can replace that 2 with a 7. Put a 7 there, press Enter, and now it has changed automatically. This number, $442 a month. Year 1, year 5, my extras have changed, and I can still see that I still have enough money as pocket change and to buy anything extra that I might want to. And again, because we've done all this, it's time to save the file. And so we point and click on the save icon, point and click there, and now again, Lotus asks me every time, after the first time I save something, it's going to ask me this every time. Do you want to save it? The cancel command. You want to make a backup, or do you want to replace? I'll point and click on replace. Maybe you might want to take this spreadsheet. I mean, it's good in the computer, but maybe you want a hard copy of it, or you want to get your work out of the computer and put it on the printer. Well, first step to printing anything in Lotus is you need to highlight the range, or highlight the parts of the spreadsheet that you want to put on paper. So we start off at A1 and we click the left mouse button. Hold down the left mouse button and drag across all the parts of the spreadsheet that you want to appear on the printer. When you're at the end, release the left mouse button. Now over here is a shortcut. It's the one that has a printer, and it has a piece of paper coming out of it. Well, when I point and click on that, everything that appears on the screen will be put onto paper through my printer. The dotted lines is Lotus's way of telling me of what I selected. And now I can have a hard copy to do whatever I'd like to do with. I mean, I'd like to take this to my father and show him that I'm really following his advice. And look how great this looks. This is the spreadsheet that we just created, and in a matter of seconds, we have it on paper. Let's compare it, though, to the one that we did on the old ledger. With the spreadsheet, all the numbers are lined up in rows and columns. Everything looks great. When we needed to change a number, we didn't have to start from scratch like we did with the old ledger. Now, there's something else that you can do in Lotus 123, and that's create quick charts and bar charts and pie charts with the information that's on your spreadsheet. Let's make a pie chart with my expenses for January. First, you point and click at the first item you'd like in the pie chart. Hold down the left mouse button and highlight whatever you'd like in your pie chart to select it. When you get done, release the left mouse button and look over here at our icons. There's a shortcut, and there's an icon that has something like a bar chart in it. When I point and click on that, a menu comes up, and I could select a line chart, a bar chart, but I've selected a pie chart. So I'm going to point and click on OK, and everything that I selected is on a pie chart with the percentages after it. So I can see that my insurance is taking up a little over 7% of my expenses, miscellaneous almost 14%, but my car 17%. Now when you're all done taking a look at your chart, press the Escape key and you're right back where you started. Now there may be times when you want to open up a file or use a file that you've already saved on your computer. It's this icon, the one that has a diskette and a piece of paper behind it. Now when I point and click on that, a whole menu comes up, and these are all the file names of every worksheet that I've created and that I've saved using Lotus 123. I'm going to point and click and get Sales. Point and click on Sales or the file name, and it's right there on your screen, and now you can use that one. When you're all done using Lotus and when you've saved everything that you want to save, it's time to quit. We move the mouse up to the menu so that it appears, and we see Quit. Point and click on Quit, and now Lotus will ask us a couple of times, are you really sure you're done? I'm going to point and click on Yes. It tells me my worksheet changes haven't been saved, but that's okay with me. I'm going to point and click on Yes, and I'm right back at the system prompt or the DOS prompt. Well, congratulations, and I encourage you and I want you to use the spreadsheet. I want you to play around in it and see what you can come up with. Maybe you can do your own budget and save some money for a house or what have you. And learning Lotus, it was easy. And as they say, it was easy as 1, 2, 3. Now you're going to learn Lotus 1, 2, 3 for Windows version 4. It's a spreadsheet program that merely means it processes numbers. We're going to put in my personal budget inside this old ledger, and we're going to put it inside Lotus 1, 2, 3. And because this version of Lotus works with Windows, it might be a good time to review tape 1 if you haven't seen it for a while. So let's get started. Now in Windows, with the Program Manager on the top, and in the Lotus Applications open window, you see an icon that says 1, 2, 3 on it and a label underneath. Point and double click on that to start the program, and you see the hourglass. That means Lotus is getting ready for me to use it. If we take a look around the screen, we see a row of icons, and these are shortcuts that I'll be using throughout our lesson. And these are kind of neat because all you have to do is point and click to do something. Over here, this gets me to different pages of icons that I can use. There's several pages, and again, all these are shortcuts to make using the program easier. And we'll be using these as we go on. Let's take a look around our spreadsheet, which is the whole thing that occupies this area. These are columns. This is column A. This is column B, and the columns run up and down. And column C, and it goes all the way across the page. These are rows, and rows go this way. This is row 1, and row 2, and 3. And this is row 4. And again, these go all the way down the page. This is the cursor. It looks like a box. This marks where whatever I type will appear in the spreadsheet. Now, where the column and the row meet, it's an address. It's almost like post office boxes because each address is unique. This cell's address is A1. This cell's address is A2 and A3. Then we can move over and say this is column B. It's on the second row, so this address is B2. I can move the cursor box as I've been doing with the mouse. All I do is point to where I want the box, say A3, click the left mouse button, and it's there. You may see this hand from time to time. What this means is I can move the box, so sometimes it'll pop up even when we're not meaning to move anything. I can also move the cursor box by using the arrow keys. Now all I have to do is when I want the box to the right, just push the right arrow key. When I want to go up, push the up arrow key to the left, and then down again. It's that easy to move around inside of a worksheet. So let's get started on my home budget. The first thing we need to type in is our income. Now we need to go to A1, and this is a handy tip. Anytime you want to go up to the A1 cell or the first cell in a worksheet, all you have to do is press the home key. So I'm going to press the home key that takes me right up to A1, and I'm going to type in income. You type in, as you type, whatever you type appears at the very top of the screen, up here. Now there's several ways I can leave income right inside that box inside my worksheet. I can point and click on the check mark like this, and now the box becomes darker, telling me that whatever I typed is now inside there. Or there's a couple of other ways that I'll show you now. But first, let's move over to B1 and we'll type in our amount, which is $2,400 per month. This is my monthly income. Now I can point and click on this check mark, or I could press enter, but I'll tell you the easiest way is just pressing the down arrow key or an arrow key in the direction where you want to go. And I want to go down, so I'm going to press the down arrow key. And here we're going to type in savings, because my goal with this budget is to save some money. And so that's important to me. So I'm going to move the arrow key to the right because that's where I want to go. Over here, we're going to type in year 1, because I have 1-year goals and I have 5-year goals on how much money I want to save. We need to go to the right, and we want to leave year 1 there, so I'm going to press the right arrow key. And here, I'll type in year 5. To go down and drop it, just press the down arrow key. Now we're going to type in my expenses. We'll type in expenses as a category heading. And over here, we'll type in January because I'd like to track it for January. And over here we have February and March, and that should be good enough. Now these are all my expenses we're going to type in now. Everything I spend my money on. We have my rent, my utilities, and then we have food. Got to buy that. Now anytime you make a mistake, I want food, not feed, all you have to do is press the backspace key. Backspace twice, and the EE is gone, and I can put the O and the O for food. Press the down arrow key, and I can type in car for my car payment. Insurance, we all need health insurance. And then my miscellaneous category, that kind of is like the catch-all. We're going to total them all up, and then we get to my favorite category, the extra, the leftovers, and that's all the money I can use on something else. Go over to January, we're going to type in the amounts now. My rent is $800. My utilities in January were $125.54. My food, $135.97. My car payment is $300 every month. My insurance, it seems like you always need more insurance, but it was $125.65. January was a kind of a spending spree month. I spent quite a bit. And now we need to go up to February. We're going to type in the rent. Now there's a couple of ways we could do. We could type in 800, or we might want to copy it because it needs to go in the February and March headings. So what we need to do first to copy anything is to highlight what we want to copy, or the 800. So I'll move the cursor box there by positioning the arrow, then pointing and clicking the left mouse button. Up on the top we have an icon with two A's on it. That's the copy shortcut. Point and click there, and up on the top you get a hint. It says select the destination, and then choose the edit paste. Well, all that means is tell me where you want it. So I'll point and click under February, hold down the left mouse button to highlight it. In this paste jar, you probably guessed that puts it there. So I point and click on paste, and there it is. Now my utilities, we're ready to enter those in, so I'll move the cursor box there by putting the arrow on the box and then clicking the left mouse button. My utilities went down just a bit in February because it wasn't that cold. My food, I was on a little bit of a diet, so that went down. My car payment, that stays the same every month. And see, sometimes it's easier just to type in the number rather than copying it. My insurance, it went up. I got one of those little notices that says, your insurance premium went up. My miscellaneous, I kind of lowered that because I saw how much I spent in January. Things were a little tight. My utilities in March went down even more because it wasn't quite cold. It was only $99.87. My food went back up just a little bit. My car payment, it stayed the same. My insurance, because of that premium notice, was the same as February. But my miscellaneous, I don't know, sometimes, I try to save, but it went up again. And so here we are, we have all our spreadsheet basically entered, so it's time to save the file, because we do have some time invested in doing our worksheet and doing our budget. Now, if I were to turn the computer off right now and turn the computer back on, I wouldn't have my budget in there. I need to save it. I need to put it inside the computer so that I can use it again, or I could change the numbers again. Up on the top, there's an icon just for this. It's a shortcut. As a matter of fact, it's an arrow pointing inside a file folder. When I point and click on that, a menu comes up, and now Lotus has given me a file name. It says File 0001. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me, and you learned back in Tape 1 that you should name your files so they mean something. So to replace that file name and not to accept it, all I have to do is type in whatever I want. How about budget? So I'll type in budget, and the first letter that you type erases whatever Lotus gave you. And now I point and click on OK, and the file has been saved. And you can tell by looking up at the top, there's the file name. The WK4 extension, that's an extension that Lotus gives you automatically, which it's a good idea to keep, so this way you always know that it's a worksheet. What really makes using a spreadsheet program great is once all the numbers are in, you can really make that spreadsheet look nice. This is called formatting, and let me show you what I mean. We'll start at the top with all the numbers. We need to move the cursor box up there, so we move the mouse pointer, click the left mouse button to get it right up to the top. we're going to have all our numbers line up with dollar signs. I'm going to select the area by pointing and clicking and holding down the left mouse button. I want every cell that may have a number in it now or in the future to have a certain style. I'm going to select the area, and once I do, release the left mouse button. Move up to the top to where it says Style, point and click, and then point and click on Number Format. When I do that, I have all kinds of options for my numbers. I can make them all percents, but the one that I want is up at the top. It's called Currency. I'm going to select Currency by pointing and clicking there. I can change the number or decimal places, and this is what my number will look like in the sample box. I'm going to accept this by pointing and clicking on OK. Now the next thing I'd like to do, but before I do want you to notice where all the dollar signs are, and I didn't have to do those by hand. But now what we're going to do is we're going to make our spreadsheet bigger. We're going to make all the numbers in biggers. So what we have to do first is go to the icon sheet that is really just all for formatting. We do that by pointing and clicking, and the pages change as we go. This is the one that we want for all the formatting. It has some colors on it, and then that A to Z letter. So first we select all the area in our spreadsheet that we want bigger. We'll start up top with Income. Point and click there to move the cursor box up there, and then hold down the left mouse button to select the whole area that you want to be bigger. Once you're all done, release the left mouse button, and then go up here to this A to Z icon. Point and click on that, and you'll see all different options. These are different fonts or different typefaces. This is the one that I have selected now. Now watch when I pick another one, like Courier. You can see that it looks different than the other. One more, Dom Casual, and you can see how that one looks. I kind of like the one that we had in the beginning, so I'm going to select that by pointing and clicking. Now we can say how big the letters are. As the numbers go up, the letters will get bigger. I'm going to take 14 by pointing and clicking on that. You can also see in the sample that it's bigger. I can make it bold or italic. I'm going to leave it normal, so I'm going to point and click on OK. Once I do that, you see all the letters are bigger than they were. Now you may see all these asterisks up there. Well, all that means is that there's too many characters, there's not enough space in the column. So we just have to make the column bigger. The way that we do that is we move the mouse pointer right on the column separator there, that line, and now it turns into a black dark with arrows going each way. If I move this way, the column's going to get smaller, and that's not going to do me any good. I got to go the other way. I have to make the column bigger. So I just hold down the left mouse button and move the mouse along until it looks about right, and that looks good to me. Release the left mouse button, and you can see the number that was kind of hiding underneath. Now what we'll do is we'll make January, February, March move to the right. First, let's select January by pointing and clicking there, holding down the left mouse button, letting go to highlight it, and then up here you see some lines to the left, some in the center. This one to the right, that's the one that we want. So I'm going to point and click on that, and January, February, March, they're all lined up. Now what's kind of neat is that you can change the color of your spreadsheet the way it looks on the screen. Let's point and click on Income, and over here you have something that looks like an artist palette. Well, I'm going to point and click on that, and all kinds of colors will come up underneath the background color. I point and click on that, and these are all the colors I can use in my spreadsheet. I'm going to pick yellow by pointing and clicking on yellow. That's the way it'll look on the screen. And point and click on OK, and there it is. Now you may be wondering, hey, where'd that blue line come from? Well, that means that the cell is highlighted. When I move the cell, highlight, you don't see the blue line. That's the way it works. So let's change the way that year 1 and year 5. Let's give them another color. So we point and click on the color palette there, point and click on background, and I can choose any color I want. Maybe this shade of green. So I point and click on OK, and again, it's a different color because it's highlighted. Move the cursor box, and you can see that it's green. Let's make savings another color. So I'll point and click on that. We'll get a background color, maybe of this shade of red. And I'll point and click on OK, and there it is. We'll do this whole column. Again, highlight it, then point and click on the color palette. It's almost like a whole artist tool in here. And maybe we'll take this shade of blue and point and click on OK, and there it's blue. And again, the red just means that it's highlighted. We'll go to January and February and March. We only have a couple more to do after this. Background color, point and click. We'll call that one blue too. Point and click on OK, and there it is. Now extra, we're going to have to make that a real bright color because that's my favorite column. Point and click on background color, and how about if we call that one, maybe we'll call that yellow too. Point and click on OK, and so now we can see extra really good. Well, because we did some more work with this and we wouldn't want to have to redo our work, I'm going to point and click on the save file. I'm going to save the file once again. Point and click there, and you hear something, the computer working, and the file has been saved. And now it's time to do arithmetic in our spreadsheet. And even if you don't like math, you're going to like what you're going to see. We're going to take all the numbers in our old ledger book, all the numbers here in the columns, and we're going to add them up without using an add machine and without using a calculator. You see, in Lotus, we can use something that's called a formula. A recipe's like a formula. It has all different ingredients, and we combine them. But the ingredients in our formula is numbers. Let's go ahead and let's make a formula first for our savings. The first step to make a formula is to put the cursor box where you want the answer, or right here. I move the mouse pointer and click the left mouse button, and the cursor box moves. This is where our answer is going to be. Now the next step is to use the plus sign. When I use the plus sign in Lotus, this tells the program that we're going to be making a formula, and we're not going to be typing in a word like income or an amount like 2,400. But let's think about what goes into the formula. It's our monthly income multiplied by your percentage. Like my dad always says, Kim, put away 10% in your savings account for that raining day. So we're going to take our monthly income, the 2,400, and to select it, I point and click. When I do that, it appears right here, B1. Now, when you multiply something in a spreadsheet, you use the star. So we'll put the multiplication symbol there, and now we need to put in our percentage, or 10%. Type in 10%, press enter, and there's our answer, $240. And now we need to make a formula for year one, or how much we'll have in the bank at the end of the first year. So I'll move the cursor box by pointing and clicking. This is where we want our answer to be. Now the next step is to use the plus sign. Use the plus sign, it tells Lotus we're going to be making a formula. We take our monthly savings, we'll select it by pointing and clicking, using the star symbol because that's the multiplication symbol in Lotus. And now we need to multiply it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. Type in 12, press enter, and there's our answer. Now in year 5, we need to put the box there because that's where our answer should be. Use the plus symbol because this tells Lotus it's a formula. We take our monthly savings, we'll select it by pointing and clicking, and we're going to multiply it, use the star symbol, by 60 because there's 60 months in 5 years. Press enter, and there's our answer. Now we need to total up all the expenses down here for January, February, and March. First, let's put the cursor box where the answer should be by pointing and clicking. Now we could make a formula for this, but there's a shortcut. There's a shortcut icon. So let's go up and find it on our pages of icons. When I point and click on this symbol right here, or this icon, it changes the pages. Each page has different things that you can use Lotus 1, 2, 3 for. Now the symbol I'm looking for has a 1 plus 2 over 3. And it's normally, I think it's the first page. There it is. It's up on the top. This is the symbol, or this is the icon, that adds up a column or a row. Well, we're going to use it to add up a column. So first what we do is we have our cursor box selected. So now we're going to point and click on the addition icon here. Point and click, and there you go. Lotus added up all the numbers. Now you may be wondering why it didn't include $2,400 or $240, because obviously it didn't when it added up the column. Well, that's because Lotus is smart enough to figure out that this whole line here is a heading and that it shouldn't add up the things above it. So let's add up our expenses for the month of February right here. We'll move the cursor box because that's where the answer should be by pointing and clicking. We're going to use that same icon, the 1 plus 2 over 3, It's like a second grade math class. Point and click there, and it adds up the whole column. And we're going to do the same thing here. We put the cursor box where we want the answer by pointing and clicking to where it should be. Now we're going to select that 1 plus 2 icon by pointing and clicking on it, and there you go. It added up all the expenses for March. Now we only have one more formula to do, and it's right here. So let's move the cursor box there by pointing and clicking. Now when we do that, we have to make a formula for the extra amount, my favorite category. This is the leftover money after you've paid all your expenses. So first step is to put the plus sign, and this tells Lotus that we're going to be making a formula. Now the extra left over, it's our income minus our savings minus how much money we spent. So the first thing we need to select is our monthly income. I point and click on monthly income, and now we need to subtract $240 or our monthly savings. And then for January, we need to subtract how much money we spent, which is right here. And now I press enter, and there's my answer. In January, I have $427.19 left over. Now let's make a formula for February. We point and click to the place where the answer should be. We use the plus sign, which tells Lotus we are going to be making a formula. We take our monthly income, we'll select that by pointing and clicking. We subtract our monthly savings, and then we're going to subtract all our expenses for February. Press enter, and that's how much money we have left over, a little bit more in February. Now for March, we select where the answer should be, the plus sign to tell Lotus we're using a formula. We take our monthly income, we subtract our savings, because that always comes out first, and then we subtract all our expenses. Press enter, and now we see in March, we're kind of right back to January where we started. So now that we did all of this work, it's time to save the file again. So let's point and click where the arrow goes into the file folder, and that's the save icon. When I point and click there, this file has been saved. Now, one of the best parts about using a spreadsheet, it's not how great it looks. You get to play a game. You get to play the game, what if? What if such and such happens? What if I saved more money? Or what about if I made just $200 more a month? Well, what if I made $200 more a month? Let's go to that area or select that box, and instead of $2,400 a month, let's say I made $2,600. So to change it, all I have to do is type in the new number and press enter. Now once I did that, all my formulas, my numbers changed. Here in savings, what was $240 is now $260. In year 1, I have more money. And in year 5, you may remember, I only had $14,000. Well, at the end of 5 years, I'm inching there towards $16,000. Now look at the extra leftover amount. I have another couple of $100 a month to play around with. But because our goal is to save money, what we want to do is take some of this extra, and we're going to be good, and we're going to put it right back in the bank. So we're going to change this formula. So first, let's put the cursor box there by pointing and clicking. Now we have a couple of options. We could redo the formula from scratch, but a better option is let's just change it. Let's just modify it. So when I move the mouse pointer up towards the top, I get a cursor by clicking the left mouse button. And now I can put in maybe a 2 because I want to save 12%. Press enter, and now you see once again, by just pressing enter, all the numbers changed. I didn't have to start from scratch. My savings went up, the amount in the bank at the end of the first year went up. Year 5 is now almost $19,000. I still have plenty of money left over, but again, the point is that I didn't have to redo everything like I would have had to using an old ledger book. I can also change all these numbers in here. Like maybe in March I got a job where I didn't have to pay for my insurance. My employer did. All I had to do is type in 0, press enter, and again, the number has been calculated for me automatically. So there's a whole bunch of other things you can do, like let's say we want to save some more money. Let's edit this formula one more time. So let's move the cursor box there by pointing and clicking. Let's move the cursor up here, and now let's erase the 2 by pressing the backspace key. Let's put in a 7 for 17%. My dad would be proud. Press enter, And now you see I still have plenty of money left over, and I have almost $27,000 in the bank at the end of 5 years. I cannot stress the importance of saving. Although we have saved the file a few times, we haven't saved it with our most recent changes. So let's do that now. We find the icon on our toolbar with the file folder and the arrow pointing to it. Point and click on there, and now the file has been saved with all our changes. Now we're going to print out our work. We're going to take everything that's shown on the screen, we're going to put it on paper. It's this icon with the one with the printer and the piece of paper coming out of it. When I point and click on that, Lotus asks me if I want to print the whole screen or just selected parts that I would type in there. Point and click on OK, and now Lotus is getting together everything that's shown on the screen, and it's going to put it on paper. So this way I can keep it, I can carry it around, and maybe I might want to put it in my day timer to remind me not to spend all that money. And maybe I want to even show it to my dad. As we take a look at our spreadsheet, look how great it looks. And it wasn't very difficult to do. But better yet, let's compare it to this old ledger. Let's see what it looks like compared to what we started out with. You can really see the difference. All our numbers are lined up, I have great headings, and I didn't even use a calculator. Did you ever hear that expression, a picture's worth 1,000 words? Well, I'm going to put all my expenses into what's called a quick chart inside Lotus. First, what you do is you select the items that you'd like to put in the chart. I'm going to select my expenses by first pointing and clicking, dragging it along until everything I want in the chart is highlighted. When it's all done, I release the left mouse button, and now I've selected all the items that I'd like in my chart, or all my expenses for the month of January. Up on the toolbar, I see an icon or a picture of something that looks like a miniature bar chart. When I point and click on that, my mouse pointer becomes something that looks like a bar chart too, and there's a hint on the top of the screen that says click and drag where you want to display the chart. What I have to do is make a space on the screen to show the chart. Point and click on the left mouse button, hold down the left mouse button and drag it until there's a space enough that you want to see your chart in, and when it's done, release the left mouse button and my chart appears. Now this is a bar chart, but I really want a pie chart. And if we look at the top on the toolbar, there's a picture of a pie chart. When I point and click on that, I get a pie chart instantaneously. And I can see that my expenses, well, my rent is taking up 46%, a little bit more than that, of all my expenses. When you're done taking a look at your pie chart, just press the delete key and it goes away. Now there's also some other neat things you can do inside Lotus. One I like is being able to work on a couple of spreadsheets at once. Let me show you what I mean. When I point and click on New Sheet, I get a B worksheet, and it looks almost like a regular notebook. Click again, I get a C worksheet, a D worksheet, an E worksheet, an F worksheet. It's really kind of neat because what you can do is work on a couple of spreadsheets at once. Like here on the F worksheet, I'm going to type in my name, Kim, and I press Enter to have it there. Now let's say I was doing a project and I wanted to see what was on the A worksheet. All I have to do is point and click on there, and there's our A worksheet. You want to go back to the F worksheet, just point and click on the letter. So you can have a couple of worksheets open at once. That makes it easy to use. You can go to the E worksheet, the D worksheet, go to each worksheet just like you opened them up. Go back to the F worksheet. Now when you're all done, we have to find a button to close them. And it's up here on the icon toolbar. We have to change the page though to where it is. So I go up here and I point and click, and here it is. It looks like two worksheets with a gray worksheet in the middle with an arrow coming out of it. When I click on that, the F goes away, the E goes away, the D goes away, the C goes away, the B goes away, and we're right back to the A. Now when you're all done using Lotus 123, you saved all your work and you're ready to exit the program. Now you know from the Windows tape that there's two ways you can exit a Windows program. One of them is by double-clicking here on the control panel. The other way is pointing and clicking on File, which we'll do, and then pointing and clicking on Exit. Now what Lotus does, if you haven't saved your file, it will ask you one more time, are you sure you want to exit before you've saved your file? Well, I'm just going to say yes, because I have a hard printout and that's all I needed. And here you are back in Windows. Now Lotus 123, there's so much you can do with it. You know, do your own spreadsheet, play around in the program, make your own charts. There really is a lot you can do with the program, and congratulations. And learning it, I'm sure you'll agree, was as easy as 123. And now you're going to learn Microsoft Excel version 4.0. And a version number is just a model number of the software. Excel is a spreadsheet program, and just like word processing programs are for words, a spreadsheet program, it processes numbers. And what we're going to do is take my personal budget, the one that's right here in this old ledger book, and we're going to put it inside Microsoft Excel. Now, because Excel uses Microsoft Windows, it might be a good time to review Tape 1 if it's been a while since you've seen it. So let's get started. With Windows open and the Program Manager up at the top, we see a Microsoft Excel window open. Inside, we see the icon to start the program. It has an X and an L on it, and it also says Microsoft Excel underneath. To start the program, I point on it and I double-click. We get the hourglass, and in just a moment, I have everything I need to write a spreadsheet using Microsoft Excel. Let's take a tour around the screen. Up on the top, we see the toolbar with all these pictures that are shortcuts on how to use the program. The columns are here, and they have letters. This is column A, and they go up and down. Column B, column C, column D, and it goes all the way across. We also have rows in our spreadsheet, and the rows go across. This is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and it goes all the way down. Now this is the cursor box that you see right here. It marks where whatever we type will appear in our spreadsheet. And each cursor box has an address. It's where the row and the column meet. For example, we're in the A column and we're on the 4th row, so we're now in A4 that you see right here. When I move the box, the address changes. For example, this is B3. Now every cell has a specific address that's unique, almost like boxes in a post office. Now I can move the cursor box as I have been doing using the mouse. All I have to do is point where I want the box and click the left mouse button, and it's there. Or I could use the cursor arrow keys on my keyboard. When I move the arrow key to the right, the box moves to the right. When I move it up, all I have to do is press the up arrow. Press the left arrow key and the box goes to the left, and then press the down arrow key and the box goes down. Now I can also have a special key on my keyboard. Like let's say you're working on your spreadsheet and you want to go all the way to the top, back to A1 where you started. Well, there's a special key that gets you there. It's called the home key. When I press that key, I'm at A1 by just pressing the key. Now it's time we're going to put in my personal budget. Let's start at the top and we're going to type in income because that's the first item in our budget. We just type in what we want to appear in that address or in that cell. I can leave it there by pointing and clicking on the check mark, as I'll do right now, or there's an easier way that I'll show you in just a moment. We need to move the box to the right, so I'm going to push the right cursor arrow key. And here we're going to type in my monthly income. That's $2,400. Now I could go up there and point and click on that check mark, but instead all I have to do is just push the down arrow key because that's the direction that I want to go. And now we're going to type in the heading savings because that's my goal in all this. But first let's move the mouse pointer out of the way and move the cursor box to where I should type in savings, which I do now. And I'm going to leave savings there by moving the cursor in the direction that I want by pressing the cursor arrow keys. And I'm going to go up here and type in year 1 because that's one of my goals, is to save a certain amount at the end of 1 year. I also have a goal to save a certain amount by 5 years, maybe to buy a house. And now it's time to enter in my expenses. I'm going to type the heading expenses, and underneath we're going to type in all my expenses. And don't worry that it doesn't fit in the cell all the way right now. We're going to fix that later. Now I want to track my expenses for months, and let's start out by January. I'm going to leave January there by moving the cursor box with the cursor arrow keys. And here I could type in February, and here I could type in March. But let me show you something. At the edge of the cursor box here in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little tiny box. And when I put my mouse pointer right on that, that X becomes that type of X. Click the left mouse button, hold it down, and drag it along. Release the left mouse button, and Excel figured out that since I typed in January, I probably would have typed February and March right after it. So let's put in our expenses, or where our money goes. First I have to pay my rent, and then I have my utility bills, and then I have to buy food, I have a car payment, then I have to pay insurance, and then I have that miscellaneous category, that catch-all of catch-alls. And then we're going to total them all up, and then after that, we're going to figure out my favorite category, how much money I have left over afterwards. So how much is my rent? Well, it's $800 a month. My utilities are $135.43 in January. It was a little cold. My food, $125.31. My car payment is $300 every month. My insurance was $135.76. That miscellaneous category, I wasn't a good girl in January. I spent a lot of money. It was $245.54. Now, in February, we need to enter in those expenses. Now, I have a couple of options here. I can just type in 800, or I could copy 800 to where I think it should be, which is in February and March. The first, what we do is we put our cursor box on the thing that we want to copy, or the number 800. Now, up here on my toolbar, I have a shortcut. It's a picture that looks like two pieces of paper right on top of each other. That's the copy icon. When I point and click on that, Excel circles what I'm going to be copying, almost like one of those movie theater type of things. I put the cursor box right in the middle, hold down the left mouse button, and I'm going to highlight where it should go, where that 800 should be copied. Release the left mouse button and press Enter, and there's my copy. Now my utility bills, we have to finish putting in all the numbers. In February, it wasn't that cold, so my utility bill went down a little bit. I went on a diet in February, all those holiday parties, I guess, and I only spent $110.75 on food. My car payment, $300. My insurance, I got one of those little notices that said, sorry, but your premium went up. And it was $150.75. And then that miscellaneous, well, we cut back a little bit. We spent $221.89 in February. My utility bills were almost done. In March, well, it was $115 because the weather was getting better. My food, well, we went back, we had a party, so it was $145.65. My car payment, $300 every month. My insurance, well, because of that premium, it sticked at $150.75. And that miscellaneous category, well, it went back up in March. I tried, and it was $256.89. And so now that we have some time invested in all this, it's time to save the file. And unless I save the worksheet that's on my computer right now, it's not going to be there next time I turn on the computer unless I save it. I have to put it inside the computer so I can use it again. Now there's a shortcut to do this. It's right up here on the top. It's an icon with an open file folder. And right next to it is a diskette. The diskette is the icon that lets you save the file. When I point and click on that, I see a file name, and I see the title Save As up top. Now Excel automatically gives our file names, names. Now sheet 1 doesn't mean anything to me. I want a file name, as you learned in tape 1, that means something. So I'm going to type in my own file name called budget. And as I start typing, it erases whatever Excel put up there for me. I type in budget, and I point and click on OK to save the file. And when I do that, I see the file name right up here. The XLS extension, well, Microsoft Excel gives that to files that are saved, kind of as a helpful way for you to know, just by looking at the file names, what software program you used to write it in. Now that I have all the numbers in my spreadsheet, I can change the way it looks. This is called formatting. And I'm going to start with all the numbers because I want them to have a dollar sign and all the decimal points to line up. So let's start at the top where there's the 2,400 or my monthly income. I'm going to highlight the entire area where a number is now or where I can put a number in later. So we start out by clicking the left mouse button and dragging it along and highlighting every place in our spreadsheet where a number may appear or where there's a number now. Once it's all selected, I lift up on the left mouse button and I go up here to the menu. I point and click on Format and point and click on Number. And here I have all different kinds of ways that I can format my numbers. I'm going to choose Currency, and I do that by pointing and clicking on Currency. There's different ways I can format my numbers, and I'm going to select this one. So there's a decimal point and zeros afterwards, as you see in the sample. I'm going to select that by pointing and clicking on OK. And now all my numbers, as you see, have the dollar signs, a decimal point, and they're all lined up. So now let's make the letters and our numbers in our spreadsheet bigger. We do that by going to the first place where something appears in our spreadsheet, right here at A1. Move the cursor box there by pointing and clicking, hold down the left mouse button, drag it along and highlight every place in your spreadsheet where you want the letters and numbers to be bigger. Once it's all highlighted, release the left mouse button. And up here on the toolbar, you see a little a and you see a big A. Well, the big A makes the characters bigger. So I'm going to point and click on that, and now all my characters are bigger. But we get these weird symbols. All that means is that there's too many characters, and the characters are too big to fit inside how wide the column is. Let's start at column A, and we'll make it bigger. To do that, I move the mouse pointer right on the line that separates the columns, and when I do that, I get an arrow going in both directions. Click the left mouse button, and I can make the column smaller by going this way. But I need to make it bigger. So I'm going to move the mouse over here, which looks like it'll probably be just about enough space. And there we go. We can see most of our categories there. And now we need to make column B bigger, and we do it the same way. By moving our mouse pointer right there, we get those double arrows, clicking the left mouse button, grabbing hold of it, and just moving it so it's big enough, which looks like that's about right. Once I do that, I can see all the numbers. We need to make C bigger, and I'm going to make that a little bigger the same way by holding down the left mouse button and moving down the line until the column's big enough. And now we need to make D big enough, so we do it the same way. Move our mouse pointer up there, we get those double arrows, click the left mouse button, and just move it until you think it's about right. And there we go, we can see all our numbers. And now I'm going to make January, February, and March. I'm going to push them over to the right. So I'm going to highlight them first by moving the cursor box over to January by pointing and clicking. Hold down the left mouse button, highlight everything that you want to go to the right, release it, and look up on the toolbar. I see lines pushed against the left, I see some that are centered, and some that go along the right. We want to pick this one, so everything's pushed against to the right side. Point and click there, and now January and February have moved over to the right. I can also work with colors. You wouldn't think about that with numbers, but it's also kind of neat. I'm going to select Income, and I'm going to change the color of this. And to do that, I point and click on Format, which opens up a menu. I point and click on Patterns, and here I can change the shading or the color of the cell. Point and click on Foreground, and a whole color bar drops down. I'm going to make my income red, and I select that by pointing and clicking. You see the sample right here. Point and click on OK to accept it, and you may see a blue line around it just like that. Maybe you noticed it. All that means is that the cell is highlighted, and when I move my cursor box over here, you see the blue line go away, means that it's not selected. Now let's color year 1 to year 5. Hold down the left mouse button to select it, release the left mouse button. We're going to go right back up to Format where we were before. Point and click on Patterns. We're going to point and click on Foreground, and we're going to pick a color. Maybe we'll select green this time. And that's our sample. To accept that color, point and click on OK. And there we see something like a shade of purple. Well, that just means it's selected. You know that. And now we're going to color this entire column. Point and click and drag it all the way down. Release it, go back up to Format, point and click to open up the menu, point and click on Patterns. That foreground color, you know, we're going to point and click on this down arrow and we see all these colors. How about if we make this one yellow? And there's our sample. Point and click on OK, and now they're all yellow, but you know that it's just blue because it's highlighted. January, February, and March, we highlight those the same way by pointing and clicking and holding down the left mouse button. Point and click on Format, point and click on Patterns, and we're at the same place. Point and click on Foreground, and we'll make these yellows too so that it matches. And there's our sample. Point and click on OK. And now we have one more box to color, my favorite box, the Extra. So we're going to make this one a special color. So we select the box, then we point and click on Format, point and click on Patterns, and now I can select my foreground color by pointing and clicking on the down arrow. We'll make this one blue so it really stands out. Point and click on that. That's our sample. Point and click on OK, and now the extra cell is a different color of blue. Now because we made our spreadsheet look great, I'm going to save it again because I don't want to have to do that again. So I'm going to point and click on that diskette up there, which allows me to save the file just like it is now. All I have to do is point and click, and the file has been saved. With all the numbers in my spreadsheet, it's time to do some arithmetic. And even if you hated math, you're going to like what you'll see with Microsoft Excel. Now, in my old ledger book, I could add up all the numbers using an adding machine or a calculator, but I'm going to let Excel do all the work. And Excel does the work in something that's called a formula. A formula is like a recipe where there's different ingredients and we combine them. But the ingredients in our formula, well, they're numbers. Let's make our first formula the savings one. The first step to make a formula is to move the cursor box where the answer should be, which is right here. I move the mouse pointer and click the left mouse button, and it drops the box there. Now, to tell Excel that we're going to be using a formula, we use the plus sign. So I use the plus sign, and when I do, Excel knows that I'm going to be making a formula and not typing in a word like income or a number like 2400. Well, if we think about the formula, we normally should save a certain percentage of our monthly income. Like my dad always says, Kim, put away 10% for that rainy day. Well, I'm still trying. But anyway, with our plus sign to tell Excel that we're using a formula, we select our monthly income, or 2400. I point and click on it to select it, and now we need to multiply this by 10%. Now, when you're using a spreadsheet, the star symbol is the multiplication symbol. I'm going to type in 10%, press Enter, and there's my answer, just like that. And now we need to do a formula for how much we'll have in the bank at the end of the first year. I move the cursor box to where the answer should be. I use the plus sign to tell Excel that we're going to be making a formula. I'm going to take my monthly savings by selecting it, and now we're going to multiply it by using the star symbol, but we're going to multiply it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. Type in 12 and press Enter, and that's how much money I should have in the bank at the end of the first year. And now we're going to do the same for my 5-year goals. We use the plus sign to tell Excel that we're going to be using a formula. We take our monthly savings amount, we're going to multiply that by 60 because there's 60 months in 5 years. Type in 60, press Enter, and at the end of 5 years, if I save $240 a month, I'm going to have over $14,000 in the bank. Well, the next formula we need to do is we need to total up all our January expenses. So I move the cursor box to where the answer should be, and we're going to add up all these numbers. Well, the hard way would be to make our own formula, but there's a shortcut right on the screen. It's up here. It's this Greek symbol that is the Greek symbol sigma to add up things. When I point and click on that, Excel asks me if this is what I want to add up. I'll accept it by clicking on it again, and there's my answer. Now, Excel was smart enough to figure out that because I have this heading going across, that it should only add the numbers here and not add the numbers 2,400 and 240. So now we're going to add up our February expenses. So the first step, put the cursor box where the answer should be by moving the mouse pointer there and clicking the left mouse button. And now we're going to go up to our toolbar to that addition symbol that will add up all the numbers in my February expenses. Once I'm there, I click the left mouse button. When I click it again, the answer is there at the bottom. Now we're going to add up March expenses. So I put the mouse pointer right where the answer should be, click that left mouse button to put it there, and we're going to go up to the top to that shortcut addition, point and click, and then click again, and the answer is right there on the bottom. Now we get to my favorite category, the extra category, but we have to make a formula. So how do we tell Excel we're going to be using a formula? We use the plus sign. And now we need to have our monthly income, we need to subtract our savings and subtract our expenses, because that's how we figure out how much money is left over. So with the plus sign there, first let's select our monthly income by pointing on it and clicking the button. Now we need to subtract our savings, so we select it by pointing on it and clicking the left mouse button. And now we need to subtract the total expenses for the month of January by pointing and clicking. Press enter, and the answer is right there. After I pay all my bills in January, I have $417 left over. Now in February, we need to make a formula too. So we're going to put the mouse pointer there, click the left mouse button because that's where we want the answer to be, right here, and we're going to make a formula by first putting the plus sign that tells Excel we're going to make a formula. We select our monthly income, and we're going to subtract from it our monthly savings, and now we're going to subtract all the money that we had to pay our bills with in February. Press enter, and that's our answer. February, I had a little bit more money. Now in March, we need to make a formula too. Use the plus sign to tell Excel we're going to be making a formula, take our monthly income, subtract our savings, and then subtract all our expenses for the month of March. We select it, and then we press enter, and you can see in March, well, I had more money in January. So now that we had all our formulas in there, it's time to save the file again, because I wouldn't want to have to do this again. So up on the top of the screen, you know how to save a file. It's that diskette. So I'm going to point and click on that diskette, and the file has been saved. Now we get to play a game. We get to play the game, what if? What if I made more money? What if I saved more money? So let's say, what if I made just $200 more a month? Well, what we do is we go up to income, and so we're going to change the amount, the $2,400 to $2,600. All I have to do is type in 2,600, press enter, and I want you to notice what happened. Excel automatically refigured how much I should be putting in the bank, not only every month, but for a year, and at the end of 5 years, how much money would be there. The extra amount, it figured out automatically. So because I have all this money left over here, I should really save more money. So in order to modify or change a formula, you see it right here, the formula we typed in before. Just drop the cursor there by positioning where you want it, click the left mouse button, and you see the blinking line. Well, we're going to change this to 12%, so I need to delete the 0, and I do that by pressing the delete key. When I press the delete key, the 0 goes away, and I can put in a 2 for 12%. Press enter, and there, again, Excel did all the work for me. My savings went up for year 1. It figured that out. At the end of 5 years, well, look, now I'm almost at $19,000. And my extra, it went down a little bit, but I can still have enough money left over to maybe buy a new dress or something. And now, let's say we have a job that, pays our insurance. I can change any number, any place in the spreadsheet. So let's say in March, I got that job where my employer paid my insurance. So I don't need to write a check every month. So it's 0. Just type in 0, press enter, and now you can see, again, Excel did the work for me a lot quicker than I could have using a calculator. Because we still have all this money left over, let's change the savings once more. We select it, we go up here and we drop the cursor. We're going to delete that 2 by pressing the delete. And we're going to put in a 7 for 17%. And to think, I once thought 10% was a lot. Press enter, and you can see at the end of year 5, I'm going to have over $26,000 in the bank, and I still have a lot of money to play around with. And this is what makes a spreadsheet so good, is that you can make changes like this without starting from scratch. And because we did all this work, you probably guessed it, it's time to save the file again. So let's point and click on the save icon, or that diskette, point and click on that, and Excel has saved the file with all my formulas and changes in it. And so now let's print out. Let's get a hard copy of what we see on the screen. And you probably guessed that there's a shortcut for this too. It's this picture that kind of looks like a printer and a piece of paper coming out of it. When I point and click on that, Excel takes all the information on my screen and in just a matter of moments sends it to my printer so I have a hard copy. So I can really see all the work I did, and it really makes it look great. And I can take it with me, and maybe I want to keep it in my day timer to remind me to stop spending money. And if you take a look how great that looks. All the numbers are lined up, all the columns are lined up, but we'll just compare it to that old ledger. Let's just take a look on how it compares, and to think, I did all this in just a matter of moments. You've heard that saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, what we're going to do is take all my expenses for the month of January and make a quick chart. We start with selecting the information that we'd like to put on the chart. I'd like my expenses for the month of January. So I move the cursor box, and I'm going to hold down the left mouse button and drag the mouse and select all the items I'd like to put in a pie chart. And when I'm all done, I release the left mouse button. Now up on our toolbar, it looks like a wizard's wand with a bar chart behind it. This is how we make a quick chart. Point and click on that, and we get an X on the screen. Excel is asking us where we'd like the chart to appear inside of our spreadsheet on the screen. Click the left mouse button and drag it, and make a box any size that you'd like your chart to be. This size looks good to me, so I'll release the left mouse button. And when I do that, Excel asks me the range, or the information I'd like to put inside my chart, and that's what we've already selected over here. So I'll point and click on Next, and now you see all kinds of charts I can create. I'm going to create a 3D pie chart, and to do that, I just point and click on it to select it, and then point and click on Next. Now I get all kinds of different options of pie charts. I'm going to select option number 6 because I want the percentages. So I point and click on there to select it, point and click on Next, and here's my pie chart. I can change things around, but it looks okay by me. So I'm going to point and click on Next, and now it asks me if I want a legend, or a chart to show me what each percentage means. So I'm going to point and click on Yes because I'd like to see the legend, and I'm going to drop the cursor right here in the title box so I can type in a title for my chart, and I'll call it Expenses. You just type in your title, and then I'm going to point and click on OK, and there's my chart right there on the screen. And I can see that my rent is 46% of my expenses, and if you take a look at my food, it's only 7%. And when you're all done taking a look at your picture, just press the delete key, and the chart goes away. Now to deselect the items that you put inside your chart, just move the cursor box any place and point and click the left mouse button. Now there's also something neat that you can do inside Excel, that is to work on 2 worksheets at once. Let me show you what I mean. Up here on the toolbar, there's an icon that looks like a new worksheet on a piece of paper. Just point and click on there, and you get a second worksheet right on top of the other one. Well, you don't see the other one, but I'll show you how to do that. Just point and click on Window, point and click on Arrange, and I arrange the 2 worksheets in one window. I like to see them horizontally, so I'll point and click on Horizontal, point and click on OK, and there's our 2 worksheets. Here's the one that we were using, and we go to that worksheet by just moving the mouse pointer and clicking the left mouse button, and here's our new worksheet, and we go there the same way. And once I'm here, I can type in information just as we did before, and I can have 2 things going on at once. When you're all done taking a look at your worksheet, you can close it by double-clicking on the control panel. When I double-click on there, Excel asks me if I want to save this worksheet. Well, I was just showing you, so I don't want to save it. So I'll point and click on No. Now, to see the whole worksheet that we were just working on, let's point and click on Window, point and click on Arrange, and just point and click on OK, and we're right back where we started. Now, when you're all done working on your worksheets in Excel and you figure out how much money you should save or whatever you are working on, you're ready to exit the program. So you know that working in Windows, there's always two ways I can do it. I can point and click on the control panel here, or I can point and click on File, point and click on Exit, and I'm right back where we started, right at the Program Manager in the Microsoft Excel window. Well, congratulations. I want you to think about other ways you can use a spreadsheet and try different charts, try different what-if games. And in fact, you may never even use a calculator again.